All right, everybody. Excuse me. Welcome back to the channel. Start of another week, and hope you guys had a good Labor Day weekend and all of that kind of thing. And here we are. Here we are all the way in September, and I'm ready to go. Let's begin. Today's episode is sponsored by Covenant Recruiter, and I have a brief video to watch, especially if you know any electrical engineers, or maybe you are an electrical engineer, and you're interested in working for a Christian company. And I'm talking about a real Christian company. You know, it's not just that they have 1689 or something like that in their name. It affects everything they do. So here's the video. Hi, I'm Adam Robles with Covenant Recruiter, and I'm here to tell you about an engineering opportunity that's much more than just another job. This role is about combining technical excellence with a much bigger vision, one that impacts mankind's entire mission in life. I've partnered with Advancing Alternatives. They design the systems behind some of the world's most productive greenhouses, everything from intelligent motor controls to full environmental automation. But what truly sets them apart is not just the technology. They are a Christian-owned company, and their work is grounded in values like innovation, growth, service, community, and of overall faithfulness. Their mission is to help growers cultivate the earth responsibly with tools that make their work not only more efficient, but also more meaningful. They're looking for an electrical engineer to join them in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. The role goes beyond CAD drawings and schematics. You'll own the full product lifecycle from concept and prototyping to testing and training. Also, you'll have a chance to see your designs in real-world production. You'll work on exciting projects, new electromechanical solutions, solar-powered systems, wireless interfaces, and greenhouse automation tools that directly impact how communities grow food and steward the land. This could be a good fit for you if you're strong with AutoCAD electrical and hands-on design. You have exposure to circuit design, PCBs, or embedded systems, especially if you love problem solving, learning new technology, and collaborating across teams. This could definitely be for you. But most importantly, I think, if you want your engineering career to be purpose-driven, serving growers, advancing sustainability, and reflecting the values of stewardship and excellence, this could definitely be for you. If that sounds like you, I'd love to hear from you. This is a place where you can innovate, grow, and be part of something bigger than yourself. If you're excited by challenge, learning, and meaningful impact, this opportunity could be the perfect fit. In Genesis, after creation, God blesses Adam and Eve, and he gives them a mandate, the dominion over everything that lives on the earth. Good engineering serves that mandate, and at Advancing Alternatives, they are keenly aware of this and work to that end. Reach out. Let's schedule a time to speak. We can talk more about the role itself and some of the details there, but also more about your background. Looking forward to it. God bless. All right, all right, all right. Well, let's start today. You know, I wanted to do a video here today. Just, I got to be honest with you. I'm just a little miffed. I'm a little miffed. Yeah, a little miffed and maybe a little bit perplexed, maybe flummoxed, you might say. And I gotta say, I wanted to just do this video just to try to figure out, what are we doing, guys? I mean, honestly, what are we doing? That's what I'd like to know. And all this drama lately reminded me of a controversy that was years ago. It looks like 5 years ago, maybe. And it's the Islamicize Me controversy. If you remember this series, honestly, not enough of you watch this. I look into this video, What Should Muslims Do with Flies? Islamicize Me, episode 5. And only 4,000 people watch this video. It's from Vocab Malone, David Wood, and this other guy. I don't know him, but he's very funny. And the whole premise of it's like a skit, and these three guys, they're atheists, and then they get preached at by a Muslim. And they decide to live as a Muslim for 30 days. And the guy gives them a magic backpack to teach them the ways of Islam. And they do it for 30 days. And it's very funny. It's very funny. And there's a lot of humor in it that is a little bit crude, just to be honest. Because the Islamic texts are they're strange, It tells you how to pee. It tells you what to do with your body hair and various things like that. And so they go into some of the more hilarious ones and act them out. And so it can be a little bit crude. And I remember this. I very distinctly remember this, where I was watching these videos, and then of course Dr. James White, who does lots of witnessing to Muslims, as you know, he's how many Muslims have you evangelized? I don't know, but Dr. James White has evangelized millions of them. And so he was very upset. He was very upset about it, and he called Vocab Malone to task because this is not becoming of a Christian to tell jokes like this about pagan religions and to make light of this and their behavior. It's not becoming of a Christian. It's too crude. It's this and that. And I heard, like I always do, I heard Dr. James White out, and I left it thinking to myself, Christians are regular people too. You know what I mean? And of course we have to be careful about the kind of language that we use. Of course we have to, be different than the world. Of course we understand that, but there's room for humor in the Christian faith, of course. And I would argue that there's room for even somewhat crude humor at times. It depends on the circumstances, of course. It depends on the context, and there's room for that. And the problem with this though is that if you make room for that, which I think anyone who really thinks about it for just a few minutes realizes that, yeah, there is room for it. The problem with it though is that when you make room for it, you open up a lot of risk to yourself, right? You could go too far very easily. And I think this is why most people don't even bother with it. You don't need to tell jokes like this, of course. But people don't even bother trying to walk the line because it's fraught with danger, right? You're walking this line, and I think it's a line worth walking for some people. But it's risky. It's like a risky activity, basically. It's sort of like akin to, like, you always hear those like youth group style questions where it's like, well, what about evangelizing at the strip club? You know what I mean? Like, should you evangelize at the strip club? And on the one hand, it seems like a good place to evangelize, but on the other hand, it really doesn't, because it's just fraught with danger and risk, and it just seems like a horrible idea, right? Or maybe just take it away from the strip club for a second. Maybe just a normal club. How about that? A normal club. Should you evangelize at the bar, kind of thing? And I think it's worth going to the bar to evangelize, but it's fraught with risks, especially for certain people. And so a lot of people just don't even bother because they don't even want to put themselves in that position. And so this is the thing. Like, look, guys, I'm okay. I'm okay with you criticizing Joel Webbin's behavior on Elijah Schaffer's show. I don't think there's any problem with that. But, guys, how about a little sense of proportion is what I'm asking for here. A little sense of proportion. Criticize away, but let's not compromise yourself by making a bigger deal of these kinds of things than it is. Because I see a lot of people doing that. And the thing is, I know for a fact that a lot of people are just pretending. You know what I mean? They're just pretending. They tell crude jokes as well. And we got to really, consider that when we are choosing to criticize Joel, which I'll say this. Like, when I have a problem with something Joel has done or said, I just talk to him about it. You know what I mean? Like, I just tell him about it, and he'll be the first to tell you that I've done this before. And Joel, he always hears me out because he knows I'm not attempting to hurt him in any way. I'm trying to help him. And so I'm not saying don't confront things that you think are too far just because, you might be guilty of it in the past. I think it's still worth it, but you need to have a sense of humility, a little sense of proportion when it comes to this. I see people, let's do this. Let's do this. Let's watch two hysterical women talk about how evil Joel is. I found this from Defiant Baptist. Of course, I do not watch this show. I don't even know what show this is. Who cares, right? It's this guy, Cody Lawrence, and then Method Ministries. They're very upset about Joel's appearance on Elijah Schaffer's show, and they're very upset about it. So they talk about it, and they're, as you might expect, they're hysterical about it. So let's talk about it.
We're safe now, I think, against leftism. Like we've been through 2020, we're safe.
Like that. Yeah,
we're safe against that kind of woke.
Yeah.
But now the problem that we're dealing with is this new kind of woke, where it's just the old woke, but it's in like a Ku Klux Klan hood, or
it's an overcorrection.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's what it is. It's an overcorrection.
It's like an overcorrection. Yeah, we're safe from the liberals, guys. That war is over. You know what I mean? Don't worry about leftism anymore. We're safe. We're totally safe from leftism. Now we got to worry about the new kind of woke, which is exactly like the old kind of woke, except they're wearing a Ku Klux Klan hat. This got all the buzzwords. This is the hysterics have never left. It's just a different version of the war. It's woke wars 2. And they're just as hysterical as they used to be. And if you notice, it's the same criticisms too. They used to say the Ku Klux Klan robe before, and it's just the same. It's just about different targets.
Correction,
well, actually, it's the same targets. It's just a smaller slice of the pie.
They think that I got to become what the left tells me I am to defeat the left.
Yeah,
that's the temptation right there. But we were proven right. Who can look at Joel? If you're a faithful Christian, you can't look at Joel and think that he's faithful. It's obvious. We were right about him. We were right about these.
It's totally obvious, guys. It's totally obvious. If you're a faithful Christian, then you must look at Joel and think, wow, that guy's an apostate. You know what I mean? He's just an apostate. It's not possible, guys. This is the thing. It's not possible to look at Joel and say, man, Joel's made some missteps. Joel's made some mistakes. Joel has said some things that, I'm not questionable. Joel's told some jokes that are questionable. You can't just think that. I mean, what are you, crazy? Are you crazy? The minute he tells a questionable joke, I mean, any faithful Christian would see apostate, obviously. That's essentially the vibe they want to give you. Let's continue.
People, we warned you. We were mocked and ridiculed. Many of us were blocked by certain people. But what now?
No, guys, you got it all wrong here. You're talking as if this is in the past. We were mocked and we were ridiculed. No. You're still being mocked, and I will still mock you. You guys are absolutely pathetic. This is pathetic. Yeah, it's pathetic.
Right? And who's starting to finally wake up? Because I see some people out there, I'm not going to name names. I think they're waking up, thank God. But also, Tobias was right, too. He also warned you about this. How many people need to sound the alarm before
Tobias was right, too, yeah. And this is the thing. Like, they expect you to not think about that. And what they expect is that you don't like Joel anymore. You're now waking up, kya! You're waking up, kya! And so you don't like Joel anymore. And Tobias also didn't like Joel, so he was right all along. Tobias doesn't like Joel. You don't like Joel, so he was right. What they forget, though, is that Tobias said some very specific things that were factually incorrect. I don't care about Tobias not liking Joel. I don't think anybody cared about that. But what we cared about was the specific things that he said that were not correct. And so those things Tobias wasn't right about, whether you agree with him about not liking Joel or not. But the narrative kind of shifts. Like that's supposed to be wiped into the dustbin now. It doesn't matter that he was factually incorrect about specific things, but now he's right about not liking Joel, so he's just right. You know what I mean? This is the kind of emotional thinking that has always been at play at the woke wars. You know what I mean? Like, you could say things about anybody, John MacArthur, whoever, and then you're right because the people that you're saying it to don't like John MacArthur. But it doesn't matter that the specifics aren't correct. It doesn't matter that the actual accusations weren't right. It's just emotional thinking. You're going to agree with me because you also don't like the target. That's what's going on here. Very emotional.
They believe them. Like how bad does it have to get with Joel Webbin?
How bad does it?
It's clearly he's made a huge advance in his apostasy.
Yeah.
Whether he was a real Christian or not, let's just call it apostasy. He's clearly forsaken.
Clearly apostate, clearly forsaking Christ. Let's find out the clear evidence for this.
They can, being faithful to Christ, it's just constantly getting worse and worse and worse. Like, what next? Like, what else does he have to say? What other thing do you have or what other evidence would convince you otherwise, other than just a man going on a show, making vulgar comments, joking around, playing the base game, trying to team up with bad people and telling.
What more do you need to see? The man went on a podcast and told a vulgar joke. Allegedly. That's allegedly a vulgar joke. He told, what more? That's what he's saying. What more evidence do you need? So that's his evidence. He's basically saying to you, this is the rhetorical, line of thinking. If going on the podcast and telling a joke that, let's just assume it crosses the line, right? Let's just assume. He told a joke that crossed the line. He went on the podcast, mind you. What more needs to be said? That's his mic drop. If that's not going to convince you, you're never going to believe Moses. It's the same kind of rhetoric, you don't believe Moses, you're never going to believe someone rising from the dead. It's the same kind of rhetoric. He's assuming that this is the end all be all. Think about the kind of person that you would have to be to say, man, Joel told a off-color vulgar joke. Again, I'm just assuming that that's right. That is an off-color vulgar joke, sinful, he shouldn't have told it. Okay? I'm giving them everything. And then to turn that into, what more do you need to know he's apostate? That's all it takes. Think about the kind of person that you'd have to be to accept that. Because here's the thing. Though Dr. White did have a lot of problems with this, Islamicize me thing, which was full of vulgarity, full of disgusting jokes. He never went as far as to say that they're obviously apostate, and I'm not sure of anybody who did. Because obviously, this was in jest. Obviously, there was a point to this. Obviously, there was a mission at play, and you might not agree with the mission, and you still might think this was sinful. I'm fine with that. But to say, well, what more needs to be said? Think about the kind of person that would work on. Not a person living in reality, that's for sure.
Getting you to believe that this is what you need to do to be a faithful Christian nation. What? That's what I need to become? That's Christianity right there? That's what it means to be born again and following Jesus? Joel Webbin and his idea, teaming up with Elijah Schaefer's, that's the best we got? That's God's prophet for our time?
It's preposterous because this is the thing. I don't tell jokes like that publicly. Obviously I'm edgy in different ways, right? But I don't use the kind of language that Joel uses. I don't use the kind of language that Elijah Schaefer uses, and all of that kind of stuff. But obviously I would still be in play here as far as a Christian nationalist, right? The way he makes it sound is like, well, you have to become like me and do things the way I would do it in order to be a Christian nationalist. That's just not the case. It's not the case at all. They're so full of it because you get a full range of people. Stephen Wolf doesn't talk this way. Stephen Wolf doesn't come and go on Elijah Schaefer's podcast and joke about vulgar things. He doesn't do that. It's not his style. But he's obviously a Christian nationalist. He's obviously, teaching that kind of thing about what a faithful Christian nation would look like, how it could operate, and stuff like that. But you see, this is just a rhetorical play. Well, you see, this is Christian nationalism. This is Christian nationalism. He just wants you to tell vulgar jokes, and that's how you do it. That's how you do it. Is that what you're telling me? That's how you do it? Yeah. This is just nonsense. This is just sophistry. And foolishness is what this is.
Come on, dude. Wake up and smell the coffee.
Yeah, man. Totally. Wake up and smell the coffee, dude. Come on, man. With enemies like these, it's just a gift. It's a gift.
Defense. One thing is interesting that made me think of is the defense that a lot of people say against Joel, especially against all the things that are obviously disqualifying, like not above reproach, not a husband of one wife, almost none, lacking self-control, doesn't have his house in order, like, just awful. Spends way too much podcasting. Like his church is an awful place, like we see from his sermons. Like his sermons are not biblical. He
all about X controversies, that Twitter spat.
Yeah, so like
the Twitter spat sermons.
Controversy. But then what people say is they're like,
let's just break down the list here, right? Because this is it's a mix of things here that he says are obviously disqualifying. It's a mix of things, right? So he's not above reproach, right? That's the first one. Obviously, that would be disqualifying if it were true. But he just says it. He just throws it out there, and you're supposed to feel. You're supposed to feel, wow, we've got a pastor who's not above reproach. I mean, that sounds pretty bad. He's not the husband of one wife. Again, obviously disqualifying, but he just says it as if, obviously, I mean, wow. Joel Webben has more than one wife. He's been cheating on his wife. He's emoting. He wants you to feel that emotional weight. He lacks self-control. Again, just said. No, I mean, just no reason. It's just, it should be obvious to you. I mean, did you see? Obviously, he told a vulgar joke. That's obvious. He just has no self-control in his life whatsoever. No knowledge of what happens when Joel, goes out and does these kinds of things. No mention, no knowledge of his personal church situation and how people are responding to him and how his co-elders deal with him, and none of that. No, it's just he just lacks self-control. He doesn't have his house in order. How could he possibly know that? How could he possibly know that? Well, you're just supposed to assume he does. He doesn't have his house in order. Again, very disqualifying. But what does it mean? No, we don't know. We're just supposed to assume that what we see. Well, he went on Elijah Schaffer. How could he have his house on order? I mean, what's he even talking about? Who knows? Who knows? And then the list shifts a little bit. He spends way too much time podcasting. Maybe that's true. That disqualifying? Is that disqualifying? I don't know. I mean, I guess it would be if he's not doing what he's supposed to be doing as a pastor. But is he? I mean, that's the question to ask, right? Is he? Well, no, you're not supposed to ask that. You're just supposed to take the 4 things that he starts with, clearly disqualifying, and then say, well, he's adding to the list. I guess this is disqualifying too. Too much time podcasting. His church is an awful place. I can't see. Defiant Baptist says his church is in an awful place. Or an awful place. Well, I don't know. I mean, why do you know that? Well, it's because his sermons, they're not biblical, and he talks about his Twitter spats, right? Yeah, in my opinion, Joel should not talk about his Twitter spats on his sermons. But is that all his sermons are about? His Twitter spats? Really? Okay. Disqualifying, according to these guys. Let's continue.
Well, yeah, of course, he's not perfectly faithful, but who is? What he is doing is actually getting us closer to this Christian world that we need. It's like, but that's not how Christianity works.
Where are his elders too?
Sin is bad.
Where is his elders? See, this is the thing. I love this because what this is intended to do is to make you make it pretend like they actually care about how this actually really works in real life, right? Where are his elders? He's obviously disqualified. Well, his elders are there. And so my question is, why would you assume that his elders aren't? That they're not doing anything? Why would you assume that? Well, you assume that because obviously he's disqualified. Well, no, I mean, maybe his elders don't agree with you. Maybe this is stuff they talk about. In fact, I have it on somewhat good authority that they do. They do talk about a lot of this stuff. I'm not an elder. I'm not in those conversations, but I know about them. And so what you got here is you kind of feign like you care about the elder rule and stuff like that, but you really don't. Because what you're saying is, well, where are they? They're obviously not agreeing with me, therefore where are they? That's what's happening here. Well, you know better. You know the church context better. In fact, you know so much that you know his house is in order. You know that. How could he possibly know that? I don't know, but you know his house is not in order. You see, this is the thing. You just throw this stuff out there that's supposed to elicit some kind of emotional response in the listener. And the thing is, the kind of people that watch this channel, it works probably fairly well. I mean, it can't be too many people. I mean, this is probably, we've got audiences in the hundreds probably. But the kind of people that watch this channel, oh yeah, that really makes them feel a certain kind of way.
Like, it is not okay to sin in order to have some kind of good consequence that you think will happen in the future. You know who did that? Adam and Eve. They were like, oh yeah, knowledge, yeah, I want to be like God. That sounds like a good thing, and that is a good thing. Cool, because God actually tells us multiple times in the Bible, you like imitate me. It's good to be like God. But
wait a minute, here's the big twist.
I told Adam and Eve not to, and they were like, oh yeah, well, this is a good thing. I'm going to do it anyway, so I'm going to disobey God in order to bring about a good consequence. And they do, and it caused the destruction of the world, of the cosmos.
Oh my gosh, the cosmos! Are you serious, dude? Like Adam and Eve, like their sin? The cosmos? This is great. I mean, this is good stuff. Rhetorically, it's not bad. It's not bad because what he turned the defense into something. People are saying, look, I mean, he's not perfect. You know what I mean? I would say something like this. You're right. He's not perfect. Absolutely. But he's got a mission and a goal and a line he's trying to walk, and he's heading towards it. And he's made some mistakes, but he's heading towards it. And that's a very reasonable pushback, right? Because obviously, if podcasting too much is disqualifying, I mean, I could list off, plethora of names that these two guys would be like, oh, they're so faithful and true to the Lord that podcast too much. I could give you tons of names of people like that, right? Disqualifying. And I can, and furthermore, those guys aren't perfect. They do stupid things all the time. They've lied on the air. They've sinned, and they've even crude jokes from time to time. Disqualifying, right? I could easily do that. So it's like, obviously, we need to have fair standards here. Blah 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 blah. He takes that very reasonable argument and turns it into, I'm now saying, according to this guy, that it's okay to sin because as long as you have a good goal in mind, like the sin's totally fine. Like you could just go and say, I'm going to go sin now. And it's okay though, because I'm going to, do a good goal. That's totally different. That's totally different. That's a completely different argument. But rhetorically, his idiot audience, which I can only assume are idiots for watching this channel, his idiot audience will be like, oh yeah, same thing. That's the same thing. Yeah. So saying, okay, like, yeah, he sinned. And of course, we want him to work on that. We want him to improve, but he's working to the goal. That's the same thing as, well, it's totally fine to sin. No problem. No problem to sin. If you buy that, you are an idiot. How do you like that?
And that's what's happening now. Whenever we say, oh, it's okay to sin, it's okay to have a disqualified pastor to be able to push this kind of future that I want. What we're doing is the same sin that Adam...
Nobody has ever said that. Ever. And I'm confident in this, right? Because there's a lot of crazy people on the internet. And so usually somebody has said it, right? Like somebody has said the wild and insane thing. But I'm here to tell you right now, definitively, I know, I checked. Nowhere across the entire expanse of the internet has anyone ever said, it's okay to have a disqualified pastor, it's okay to sin, as long as you have a good goal in mind. Nobody has said it. I've checked the internet, and nobody has ever said that.
That destroyed the world. It's exactly the same kind of thing that makes men, that destroys men, it destroys women, it destroys churches. Like, America sucks right now, morally and spiritually, because of people like this, because people who ignore the Word of God.
All right, so I'm gonna shift my my stance here for a second. and pretend that I actually am one of these guys. And I've got to say that these guys, well, at least the long-bearded guy, the kya guy, he's disqualified himself from even commenting on this. Disqualified. He's completely disqualified himself. Because all this has been started by Joel making an oral sex joke, right? An oral sex joke that's, some would call too vulgar. It's not a joke that I would make on the air, I'll tell you that. I'll just tell you that. I wouldn't have said it. At least I don't think so. But that's disqualifying, obviously. And if what more do you need to see? I mean, that's what more needs to be said. You made an oral sex joke. I mean, disqualified. And did you catch what this guy just said? Let's go back a little bit. Let's make sure. I want to make sure you caught this, okay? This guy's disqualified.
America sucks right now, morally and spiritually.
You hear that?
Sucks right now, morally.
You hear that?
America sucks right now.
What is it?
America sucks right now.
He said America sucks right now. I've said that before myself. Maybe not about America, but I've said the word sucks before. The Mets, they suck. That sucks. Oh, man, that really sucks. I mean, guys, if you use the word sucks, I don't want to scandalize you. Maybe you've used the word jerk before. I don't really want to scandalize you. But for the sake of purity, let me just tell you about those words. There's others too. Jerks, sucks. These are two very common ones. Sucks is a reference to oral sex. Just saying. Just saying. That's a oral sex joke. Now, it's a common one. It's one that's used all the time. And it's used so much that people forget that it's actually a reference to oral sex. This is why I don't want my kids using the word sucks. My kids use the word sucks. I'm all over it. I'm like, nah, you can't say that. You can't say that. Jerk. It's not quite an oral sex joke, but it is a sex joke. You've heard the word jerk before, right? You probably used it about certain people that you don't like. That's kind of how sucks is used too. A situation you don't like, right? Or a thing you don't like. That sucks. But let me just show you how this purity demand spirals so quickly. You use the word sucks. You use the word jerk. Those are crude jokes. That's slang, right? I've even seen some people criticizing Joel that will use the word glaze. And they'll say, AD, you gotta stop glazing Joel. And in the same breath, they will tell me that his oral sex joke was disqualifying. Obvious sin, shouldn't have anything more to say after that. Now, I'm not saying, but let me make this clear. I'm not saying that it's automatically okay to use the word sucks, to use the word jerk, to use the word glaze. In fact, that last one I don't even use. This is like probably the only time I've ever said that publicly, or maybe even at all. I'm not saying that that's automatically okay. That's walking a line. Remember that line I told you that I think is worth walking in certain circumstances for certain people, but fraught with danger? I'm saying you use those kinds of words, you are walking the same line that Joel is walking. And maybe you're doing it in a little bit of a safer way only because of the time that has passed since people recognize that the word sucks is a reference to oral sex. Or the word jerk is a reference to, I don't even know what that's called, but a hand job. All right, there you go, a hand job. Or maybe you don't even know what the word glaze is all about. I do. That's why I don't use the term. It's gross. I think you guys are full of it. Let me just say that. I think you're full of it. Most of you are totally full of it. Because I've seen people that joke about various kinds of sexual proclivities in private. And yet Joel gets on, and listen, there's a fair criticism here, but a little sense of proportion is in order. Joel's a pastor. I know pastors. Joel went on a public stage and told an oral sex joke. Probably not smart. Probably not smart. And I've told Joel this to his face. Not to his face, on the phone. This guy, you gotta, I'm trying to be accurate here. I've told him that. And I've talked to Joel. I'm not going to give you the details of our conversation, but I think he'd be okay with me telling you this. And I've talked to Joel, and I've said, Joel, you're going into these spaces, and I support it. I support you going into these spaces. You know, I'm using the gay woke term, spaces. But you going into these, I support it. I think it's worth doing. But you need to be ready. Because these guys, they're going to say some wild stuff. They're going to say some wild stuff, and it's their channel. They can do what they want. Maybe they shouldn't do it, but they're going to do what they want, and you need to be ready for it. You need to be ready for it. And when it happens, which inevitably will, okay? There's no excuse for not knowing. It's going to happen. You need to be ready to be the pastor in the situation. You know what I mean? You need to be ready, and you can do it in all kinds of ways. You can do it in a humorous way. You can do it in a, kind of more direct way. You could do it in a softer way. But you don't have to shut them down, but you do have to tell them and remind them, that's not really something that I want to hear. You've got to be ready. I know pastors that they do tell gay jokes in private. They'll say, so-and-so is gay. You're gay. I'm gay. All that kind of stuff. I mean, no, I'm gay, but you're gay. And I don't think that they see the similarity of what they're doing to what Joel did. Now, he did it publicly, and that's something that can be criticized, and you should if you feel like you need to. Because there's a difference between being around the campfire and telling a joke to a friend and then doing one publicly, right? Maybe there's not quite as big of a difference as we think either. Like maybe it's not okay even in private. You know what I mean? Maybe not. I'm not making a determination on that. That's above my pay grade, right? That's above my pay grade. But I know pastors that are all over Joel right now that I know for a fact tell crude jokes like this in private. And so I'm not saying don't criticize him, because there is a difference being on that public stage. There's a difference, and Joel needs to be ready for that. What I am asking for is a little proportion. A little proportion. This guy tells you that telling a vulgar joke is disqualifying, and he tells a vulgar joke. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Maybe he didn't know. Maybe he forgot that was what it was referenced to. Maybe it's, he is that an excuse? I mean, for me, I don't think it's a big deal. But this guy's alleging that it's a big deal. Pretty preposterous. Pretty preposterous, if you ask me. And so here's the deal, man. I think that you don't have to like Joel's direction. I've got question marks about some of the statements that Joel makes. I tell him about them. Joel knows where I stand on some of the stuff that I don't get. Some of the stuff that he's doing and planning on doing. I don't get it. I've told him that. He doesn't need my permission to do it. What I have told him, though, is in an attempt to be helpful, here's the dangers you need to be ready for. And I've told him I've got other things that I think he needs to watch out for, possible dangers, because I know that walking that line, even if it's worth walking, is fraught with danger. And you need to be ready for it. You need to be ready for it. Now, these guys are just These guys are jokes, obviously. I mean, who cares about this? I don't really care about this guy's criticism or this guy. You know what I mean? I don't care. These guys are full of it. Simple as that. But amongst my friends, I'm just asking for a little sense of proportion. That's what I'm asking for. So that's why I'm flummoxed. That's why I'm perplexed. And I'm just asking for a little sense of proportion. And let's just end this with a nice trip down memory lane.
Dunk it. Dunk it. Dunk it. So immerse it is a cure.
A fly falls into this guy's cereal, and he asks the magic backpack what to do.
When it falls onto the wing, on which is a disease, so immerse it fully.
Is that what it really says?
That's what it really says. So if you want the cure for the disease that fly is carrying, you gotta dunk that fly, man. Dunk the fly, man. Dunk it. Dunk it. Dunk it. Dunk it. Get all the cure. You want all the cure. You want all that fly's cure. You want all the cure. Now eat it.
Dunking
eat
it.
Get it all. Get all the cure. Get all the cure.
I think there's a bug going around. A bug or something, so just trying to be safe.
He had a bowl of cereal.
Yeah.
I smacked the fly and it landed in the cereal.
Yeah, it wasn't like pork cereal or anything, was it?
No
Okay.
pork in it.
Pork cereal. Oh, there's some good stuff here. I hope you found this video helpful. God bless.